God bless you this evening. We're certainly thankful and grateful to be with you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. I have with us today Brother Marcio Da Gama, also Brother Luis Urego, and we're just thankful for the Lord sending Brother Marcio our way. He has some wonderful testimonies to share, and Brother Luis is going to be here interpreting, and we just thank the Lord and trust that you'll be blessed. God bless you. Yes, Brother Marcio, forgive me, Brother Marcio is from Manaus, Brazil. He's a pastor there in Brazil. He's been in the ministry for many years. He has worked throughout Venezuela for many years, started churches there that are very strong today. Also now he's working in Brazil. The Lord gave Brother Marcio a dream many years ago that he would work with 3 languages, and that was Spanish, Portuguese, but he never knew what other language people he would work with. And then the Lord led him to let them, and now he's working with 3 languages as the Lord showed him many years ago. And so we're just thankful and look forward to hearing the testimonies that he has to be a great blessing to us. God bless you.
Bueno, Dios les bendiga.
May God bless you.
Es un inmenso placer estar aquí en este lugar.
It's a pleasure to be here in this place.
Agradezco la confianza del pastor David Banks.
I appreciate Brother David Banks' confidence in us.
Ha sido un buen momento.
And it's been a great time.
Bueno, yo pocas veces me gusta hablar de lo que pasó en mi vida.
And very few times I like to speak about what has happened in my life.
Porque algunas personas toman esto como un fanatismo.
Because some people may take it like as a form of fanaticism.
Y otros toman como una gran bendición.
Or some people might take it as a great blessing.
Este testimonio que le voy a narrar.
And this testimony that I'm going to tell you.
Yo pocas veces le he narrado.
It's very, very few times that I have given it.
Creo que fuera de mi iglesia unas 2 veces. Esta sería la tercera vez.
I think outside of my church, it's only been twice, and this will be the 3rd time.
Espero que sea de una gran bendición para todos.
I hope that it's a blessing for everybody.
Bien, yo nací en la Amazonia.
I was born in Amazonia.
Mi familia es estrictamente católica.
And my family was strictly Catholic.
Y desde pequeño siempre fui instruido dentro de la doctrina católica.
And from a young man, I was always instructed in the Catholic faith.
Y nosotros siempre éramos de estar en la iglesia casi todo el tiempo.
And we always were in church all the time.
Y siempre rezando.
We were always praying.
Pagando promesas.
Making promises.
En las novenas.
Praying novenas.
En fin, que yo era sí, casi 100% católico.
I was 100% Catholic.
Y entonces, en 1978,
and in 1978,
yo tenía 13 años.
I was 13 years old.
Y entonces estaba buscando trabajo.
I was looking for work.
Porque era muy difícil.
Because it was very difficult.
Y quería mantener mi familia.
And I wanted to be able to support my family properly.
Y entonces yo conseguí trabajo.
And so I found some work.
En un barco de pesca.
At a fishing ship or fishing boat.
Y me habían dicho que los barcos de pescas era muy difícil de trabajar.
And they had told me that working on a fishing boat was a very difficult job.
Pero parte de mi vida,
but part of my life,
yo he vivido en la selva.
I lived in the jungle.
Con flechas,
with bow and arrow,
con cuchillos,
with knives,
con machetes,
with machetes,
con trampas,
with traps.
Sé sobrevivir en una selva.
I knew how to survive in the wilderness.
Y entonces para mí no era tan difícil.
And for me it wasn't very difficult.
Trabajar pescando.
To work fishing.
Porque esto yo lo hacía desde joven.
Because I used to do this ever since I was a young man.
Así que fui a trabajar en un barco de pesca.
So I went to go work at a fishing boat.
Y entonces me dieron una canoa.
So they gave me a canoe.
Me dieron unas redes para pescar.
They gave me some what you may call it, the things, the nets to go fishing in.
Y entonces viajamos como 30 días subiendo el río.
And we traveled about 30 days up the river.
Y entonces habían varios pescadores
And there were several fishermen there.
y yo era el novato.
And I was a novice.
Y entonces yo no entendía mucho sobre esta clase de pesca que ellos hacían.
I didn't understand much about this type of fishing that they were doing.
Y sobre todo que ellos tenían muchos vicios.
And they had a lot of ways of doing things.
Pero lo que Dios destinó para servir a Él,
But what God predestinated to serve him,
Dios lo guardará, lo cuidará
God is going to keep
y lo
God is-
traerá a su tiempo.
and going to bring him at his own time.
Y entonces en el barco donde yo trabajaba,
So at the boat that I was working in,
habían borrachos,
there were drunk men,
prostitutos,
there were prostitutes,
había toda clase de
there was
gente
all
mala.
kinds of people there.
Pero yo era diferente.
But I was different.
Y me acuerdo que hice el primer viaje,
And I remember I did that first
Fue-
that first trip,
no fue tan mal.
and it wasn't bad.
Luego hice el segundo viaje.
I went on the second trip,
Y entonces me acuerdo que ya había hecho varios viajes.
and I remember that I had already done several trips.
Y esto ya era casi el final del 80 y del 79.
It was around the end of 1979.
Entonces, y yo dije que no quería más pescar.
And I said I didn't want to go fishing
Así
anymore.
que hice el viaje
So I went on this last trip,
y nos dijeron que en un determinado lago había bastante peces.
and they had told us that at a certain point at a lake there was a lot of fish,
Y de veras que había muchos.
and there was a lot of fish there.
Y allá hay un pescado que lo llaman de pirarucú.
And there's a fish there by the name of pirarucu.
Es como un bacalao de río.
It's like a trout of the river.
Él llega a pesar hasta 400 kilos
He may weigh about 400 kilos
cuando él está muy grande.
when it's very big.
Y habíamos cogidos como 3 grandes.
And we had already caught about 3 of those big ones.
Y entonces yo estaba limpiando uno de estos peces.
And I was cleaning out one of these fish.
Él tenía más o menos creo que unos 30, 40 kilos.
It was about 30 or 40 kilos
Era
in
pequeño.
weight. It was a smaller
Pero
one.
yo usaba el cuchillo muy afilado.
But I was using a very sharp knife.
Y yo era un joven,
And I was young,
pero fumaba
and I used to smoke,
y bebía.
and I used to drink.
Y entonces yo estaba limpiando el pescado.
And I was cleaning out the fish,
Y entonces estaba limpiando
and I was cleaning.
entre las 2 piernas.
And I had the fish in between both of my legs.
En esto un amigo habló
And one of my colleagues, he spoke up,
y yo levanté mi cabeza para ver quién era.
and I lifted my head to see who it was.
Cuando levanté mi cabeza,
And when I lifted my head,
el cuchillo se resbaló
the knife went out of place,
y me cortó la femoral aquí abajo.
and it cut my femur down on my foot.
Y entonces, la sangre era tan fuerte
And so the blood was flowing so much.
que había como un chorro de sangre.
It was like there was a gush of blood
Y
just
cayó
coming
sobre el
out,
pescado.
and it fell on the fish.
Y entonces los vinieron y me agarraron
And so they came and got me,
y cogieron un paño
and they grabbed a rag,
y pusieron encima de esto.
and they put it over the wound.
Pero la sangre era tan fuerte
But the blood was flowing out so
que luego
much
se llenó, se encharcó
that the thick
el paño de
the rag
sangre.
was just getting thick with blood.
Y entonces, y cuando imprensaba más la pierna,
And when they would press on the leg more,
entonces salía mucha sangre.
a lot more blood was coming out.
Y entonces empecé a sentirme muy débil.
And I started to feel very weak.
Me llevaron a una hamaca
And they took me to a hammock,
y yo empecé a sentir un profundo sueño.
and I started to feel very sleepy.
Y ellos hacían de todo para mantenerme
And they were
despierto.
trying to do everything they could to try to keep me awake.
Pero había un sueño profundo.
But there was I felt very
Y
sleepy.
había perdido mucha sangre.
And I had lost lots of blood.
Pero estábamos a 30 días de la ciudad.
But we were about 30 days from this major city.
Era el único hospital, estaba a 30 días.
The only hospital was about 30 days from us.
Esto quiere decir que yo no iba a vivir mucho tiempo.
This meant that I was not going to live a very long time.
Dentro de pocas horas estaría muerto.
In a few hours, I was going to die.
Así que el dueño del barco estaba un poco nervioso.
So the captain of the boat, he was very nervous,
Y los muchachos también.
And the other men, they were there, they were
Y
nervous.
entonces el dueño del barco dijo, vámonos.
And the owner of the ship said, let's go. Let's just
Vamos a
go.
buscar ayuda.
Let's go find help.
Y la primera casa,
And the first house
cerca de donde estábamos,
that where we were at near
estaba 3 días
was about 3 days from us,
de barco.
from in boat.
Así que, o sea, prácticamente yo iba a morir.
So practically I was just going to die.
Porque la sangre, ella, debajo de la hamaca,
Because the blood was flowing, it was already flowing
ya estaba
from
cuajalada la sangre.
under the hammock was already coagulating.
Y entonces y ellos secaban.
So they were trying to dry it up.
Y entonces habíamos subido un río
And we had went up a river,
y habíamos subido por horas este río.
and we already had traveled several hours on this river.
Y no había brazo de río allí.
And there was not a place for us to exit quickly.
Los brazos de río que habían,
The arms of the river that were there,
había quedado más o menos unas 5 o 6 horas antes de nosotros.
or the last shoulder that was there was probably the last exit was probably about 5 or 6 hours
Yeah.
before.
Entonces cuando demos la vuelta en el barco
And so when we turned around on the boat
y empezamos a bajar río abajo,
and we started going down the river,
encontramos un brazo de río
we found an exit off the river
que
there
estaba hacia la derecha.
that was on the right hand side.
Y los muchachos dijeron,
And the guy said,
oye, pero aquí
he's like,
yo no vi un brazo de río aquí.
he said, but right here there wasn't an exit here when
Y
we were.
los otros dijeron, sí, que no había brazo de
And
río.
the other man were in agreement. They said there was not an exit here off of this.
Oye, pero esto es muy raro.
And they said this is strange.
Y el dueño del barco dijo, muchacho, entre en este brazo de río.
And so the owner of the ship, the boat said, man, let's just go through this exit here.
Y entonces, pero señor, podemos llegar muy lejos.
And then we said, and they didn't want to go that way.
Y podemos hasta perdernos.
And maybe they were thinking they were going to get lost if they
Y
went that
entonces, no,
way.
pero entren por ahí.
And the man said, no, just go through there.
Y entonces bajamos.
So we went through
Era
there.
un poco angosto el brazo de río.
It wasn't wide.
Y entonces íbamos navegando.
And so we were navigating,
Y navegamos más o menos una media hora.
and we kept traveling about half an hour.
Y yo ya no aguantaba más. La vista se me estaba oscureciendo.
I couldn't stand it anymore. My vision was darkening.
Y un poco más abajo el río se puso un poco más ancho.
And later on down in that river, it started getting wider.
Y vimos una casa.
And we saw a house.
Era una palafita. Era una casa aérea.
It was a house that was kind of sitting on a hill.
Y, la casa estaba arriba de un árbol.
The house was kind of sitting on a tree almost.
Esto era muy raro, ver
And
una
this,
casa
and
arriba
this
de un
was
árbol.
very strange for us because to see a house on a tree.
Y vimos a alguien en la orilla del río.
And we saw a person on the side of the
Y él
river,
estaba con un paño.
and he had a handkerchief in his
Haciendo
hand.
así.
And he was doing this,
Y
waving
hacía
it.
así.
He was waving it.
¡Eh!
Hey! Hey!
Y el dueño del barco miró
And the owner of the ship looked,
y dijo, mire muchacho,
and he told his man,
allá está alguien gritando.
he said, there's somebody over there crying out.
Bueno, quizá este hombre pueda ayudarnos en
Maybe
alguna
this
cosa.
man can help us.
Aunque sea algo tenga.
Maybe he might have
Que
something.
nos pueda decir,
Let's just go ask him.
por lo menos qué hacer con este muchacho.
Let's see what he can do for
Y
us.
entonces en esto llegamos a la orilla
So we got there to the bank,
y era un anciano.
and it was an anciano,
Sí.
and it was an older gentleman.
Y entonces él dijo, ¿ustedes tienen sal?
And he said, "Are you all needing something?
¿Tienen azúcar?
Do you all have salt? Do you have
¿Ustedes
sugar?
¿Tienen café?
Do you have coffee?
Yo tengo carne de animales aquí salada.
I have meat over here that's already salted.
Quiero cambiar con ustedes.
I want to exchange some things with you."
Pero cuando el barco se arrimó a la orilla,
But when the boat got there to the bank,
que él subió,
and he saw,
él miró al dueño del barco
he looked at the captain of the boat,
y dijo, ¿dónde está el muchacho que se cortó el pie?
and he said, "Where's the young man that cut his foot?"
Uno miró al otro
And the men were looking at
Uno
each
mira al
other.
otro.
One looked at the other,
y un amigo dijo,
and one of my friends said,
este es un brujo,
"This is a witch.
es un brujo.
This is a witch doctor."
¿Cómo vas a ver?
How is he supposed to
Que aquí
know
hay alguien con
that
pie
there is
cortado.
somebody here that's dying from a cut?
Él dijo, ¿dónde está el muchacho?
And he asked him again, where's the young man?
Porque el Eterno se me apareció.
Because the Eternal One has come to me.
Ellos no sabían que era
They
eso.
didn't know who he was because they didn't know what to call him.
Y me dijo que aquí en este barco había un muchacho
And he told me that in this boat there was a young man
y él había cortado su pie.
and that he had cut his foot.
Y ¿dónde está?
And where is he?
Y ellos dijeron, está allí en la hamaca.
And they told him he's over there laying in the hammock.
Se acercó a la hamaca
And so he came over to the hammock
y entonces me miró.
and he looked at me.
Yo ya estaba muy pálido,
I was already very pale.
con los labios morados.
My lips were already purple.
Y me dijo, muchacho,
And he said, young man,
¿cómo estás?
how are you?
Yo no me acuerdo de su rostro,
I don't remember how he looked like,
pero me acuerdo solo de su voz,
but I remember his voice
porque casi yo no podía ver.
because I couldn't hardly see.
Él dijo, tú morirás con este pie.
He said, are you going to die from this foot wound?
Y entonces él dijo, ustedes no pueden salir de aquí por 3 días.
He said, you all cannot leave here. It's going to be 3 days that you have to
Ese
stay
muchacho
here.
no puede salir de aquí,
This young man can't leave
porque él morirá.
because he's going to die.
Y entonces él no puede morir,
He can't die
porque el Eterno me dijo
because the Eternal One told me
que hay una obra para él.
that there is a work ready for
Hay un
him.
trabajo para
There
él.
is
en
a
el
work
futuro.
for him to do in the future.
Ellos no entendían nada de esto.
They didn't understand none of that,
Y yo menos.
and I didn't understand it
Y
either.
entonces él dijo, 3 días.
And so he told them 3 days you guys have to stay here.
Ok. Este hombre se fue a su casa,
So this man went back home.
vino con unas hojas,
He came with some leaves.
se acercó a mí,
He came to me.
puso una grasa en las hojas,
He put some sort of ointment on the leaves.
levantó su mano derecha
He lifted his right hand
y hizo una oración.
and he made a prayer.
No sé qué decía,
I don't know what he was saying
porque yo no entendía
because
qué
I
es lo que
didn't
decía.
understand what he was saying.
Y entonces le puso esta hoja encima de mi pie
He put this leaf over my foot
y la pierna mía hasta la mitad del muslo.
and my leg up until the middle part of my
Esto estaba muy hinchado.
thigh of my bottom part here. It was very swollen
Y estaba morada.
and it was very purple.
Esto significaba
And this meant
que la pierna ya estaba muerta,
that the leg was already dead
porque yo no sentía la
because
pierna.
I couldn't feel my leg
Y ella quedó así.
and my leg was like this.
Y entonces él miró y dijo, tranquilo,
And so he looked at it and he said,
No
don't
te
worry.
preocupes.
He said, don't worry about it.
tú morirás con esta pierna.
He said, you're going to die. You're not going to die.
Yo no entendía esto.
You're not going to die. And I didn't understand
Y él
this.
se fue.
And so he left.
Esto fue en la mañana.
And this was in the morning time.
Se pasó todo el día
And the whole day
y este hombre no apareció.
had went by and this man had never
En
come
la
back.
noche,
Nighttime came.
nadie vio a este hombre.
Nobody ever saw this man.
Y entonces yo pasé la noche y me dolía mucho la pierna.
And I went through that night and my leg was hurting me really bad.
Y entonces cuando fue en la mañana,
And when morning time, the next day came,
el hombre apareció
the man came back again
con otra hoja
with another leaf.
y subió al barco.
He got on the boat,
Fue a donde yo estaba.
went to where I was laying at,
Y entonces miró
and he looked
y dijo,
and
no
he,
te preocupes,
he said, don't worry,
todo estará bien.
everything will be all right.
Agarró la hoja
He grabbed that leaf
y agarró unos trapos
and he grabbed some rags
y agarró por acá
and he grabbed me right here
y jaló la hoja.
and he pulled on the leaf.
Cuando jaló la hoja,
And when he pulled the leaf,
y entonces vino mucho pus
a lot of pus came out,
y empezó a salir.
started coming
Y él
out,
empezó a secar
and he started drying it up,
secar.
drying it
y a
up,
apretar un poco.
and putting some pressure.
Y entonces aquello me alivió un poco el dolor.
And that relieved a lot of my pain.
Y yo solo hacía
And I was just doing,
y entonces él limpió
And so he was cleaning up.
su otra hoja
He put on another leaf,
y dice, no te preocupes,
and he said, don't worry,
todo estará bien.
everything will be all
Y
right.
se fue.
And he left.
Pasó el día,
The whole day went by.
la noche,
The night came.
no se veía este hombre.
He never came back.
Cuando fue en el segundo día,
On that second day.
él vino otra vez.
And then he came back,
Y entonces él me miró,
and he looked at me.
ya la pierna
My leg,
ya estaba volviendo el color.
the color was already coming back to it.
Nuevamente agarró los trapos
He grabbed the rags.
y entonces jaló otra hoja.
He grabbed another leaf.
Mucho pus empezó a
A
salir.
lot of pus came out.
Y entonces limpió,
And he cleaned it up more,
puso otra hoja,
put on another leaf,
levantó las manos,
lifted up his hands,
hizo una oración
and he made a prayer.
No sé qué dijo
I don't know what he said,
y se fue otra vez.
and he left again.
En esta noche dormí muy bien.
And that night I slept very well.
Ya no había casi dolor.
There was not hardly any more
Y mi
pain,
pierna estaba volviendo el color.
and the color was coming back on my leg.
Y entonces el
Sorry.
tercer día,
Go.
en el tercer día,
And on the third day,
y entonces él vino otra vez.
¿cómo dijo, hermano?
Él vino otra vez.
He came back.
Él dijo, hoy es el último día.
Today is the last day.
Mañana ustedes podrán viajar,
Tomorrow you're going to be able to travel,
pero hoy no.
but not today.
Y ellos se acercaron,
And they got back.
o sea, él se acercó
He came to me
y miró.
and he looked.
La pierna ya estaba bien,
My leg was already okay.
ya había deshinchada.
It was the swelling had already gone down,
Y entonces él agarró la hoja,
and he grabbed the leaf.
se la sacó,
He took it off.
secó otra vez,
He dried it up.
ya salía poco pus,
There was less pus that came
puso
out.
otra hoja,
He put on another leaf.
levantó la mano,
He lifted his hand
hizo una oración
and he made a prayer
y se fue.
and he left.
No se vio este hombre.
You never saw this man
Cuando
again.
fue en el cuarto día de la mañana,
And then on the fourth day,
él se vino,
the man came back
él
again.
dijo, hoy ustedes podrán irse.
He said, "Now today you all can leave."
Y entonces cuando regresó vio una hamaca
And when he came to the hammock, he looked.
y la pierna ya había vuelto el color completo.
The leg had already, the color had already
Yo ya
come back
sentía
from
la
my leg.
pierna, todo.
I could feel my leg
Y
completely
entonces
now.
él jaló la hoja,
And he pulled on the leaf.
ya no salía pus,
There was no pus that came
no
out.
salía más nada.
Nothing else came
Él la
out.
limpió,
He cleaned it
él dijo, ahora
and he said, "Now
tú no te quedarás con tu pierna pegada así.
your leg is not going to stay like this."
No te preocupes.
He said, "Don't worry."
Él puso la mano aquí,
He said he put his hand here.
entonces él empezó a decir, cálmate.
He started telling me to
Y
calm
fue
down.
tirando mis piernas, mi
And he
pierna,
started to pull on my leg,
me dolía un poco,
and it was hurting a bit.
y estiró. Y cuando la estiró,
And when he stretched out my
él
leg,
dijo, ahora mueva la pierna.
he said, "Now move your
Y yo
leg."
empecé a mover la
And
pierna.
I started moving my leg.
Y moví la pierna,
And I started moving my
y
leg,
sentí bien la pierna.
and I felt my leg feel good.
Él dijo, cumplí mi misión,
He said, I've fulfilled my mission.
ahora pueden irse.
Now you can leave."
Y todos quedaron mirando,
And everybody was looking at each other.
agradecimos al hombre,
We thanked the man,
y entonces empezamos a navegar.
and we started to travel on again.
Todavía queda una pequeña cicatriz
I still have
aquí.
a scar here.
Esta vena principal,
This main vein right here,
ella cortó las dos venas aquí.
it cut both of the veins right here.
Queda muy poco, casi no aparece más.
You don't hardly see it anymore,
Porque hasta esto Dios.
because that was
Esa es la
of
que-
God.
Y entonces
And so
navegamos prácticamente derecho para la ciudad,
we kept traveling now towards the city,
y un entardecer,
and later on that afternoon,
me faltaba un día para llegar.
we had about another day's
Estaba
left for travel.
el sol se estaba poniendo entre las selvas, entre los árboles,
The sun was going down,
y estaba el ocaso,
and we could see the horizon,
y yo me quedé mirando,
and I was looking,
y yo dije, me dio algo en mi corazón.
and I felt something in my heart,
Yo dije, Señor,
and I said, "Lord,
ellos me dijeron que tú existes.
they told me before that you exist.
En la iglesia escuché que si yo hablara con las estatuas,
At church, they told me that if I spoke to statues,
con las gravuras, los cuadros pintados,
to the paintings on the wall,
que tú me escuchara
that you would hear me
y que tú hablaras conmigo.
and that you would talk to me.
Pero yo nunca escuché tu voz.
But I never heard your voice.
Yo quería escuchar tu voz.
And I want to hear your
Yo
voice.
dije, Dios,
And I said, "God,
si tú existes,
if you exist,
entonces háblame de alguna manera
then speak to me some way or
y
another,
yo sabré que tú existes.
and I'll know that you exist."
Muy bien. Llegamos a la ciudad
So we got to the city.
y fui a la casa de mi mamá.
I went to my mom's
Mi
house.
mamá ya era protestante,
My mom was already a Protestant.
y todos los días
And every day,
ella me hablaba del evangelio,
she would talk to me about the gospel.
y no me gustaba mucho
And I didn't like it much
porque teníamos rabia de protestantes.
because she had, I was angry against the
No me
Protestants.
gustaba
I
protestar.
didn't like the Protestant people.
Y todos los días
And every day,
me hablaba del evangelio.
she would tell me about the gospel.
Y entonces era mi madre.
And it was my
Yo
mom.
no podía faltarle
Of
respeto.
course, I couldn't, I had to respect her.
pero la paciencia se me fue agotando.
But my patience was getting weary.
Y yo no quería responderle mal.
And I didn't want to back talk her.
Y entonces yo le dije a ella un día,
So I told her one day,
mamá,
I said, Mom,
si yo voy a tu iglesia
if I go to your church
una vez,
one time,
una sola vez,
tú
me dejas en paz.
after that, will you leave me alone?
Ella dijo, sí,
And she said, yeah.
levanta tu mano.
Raise your hand.
Ella levantó la mano.
And she raised her hand.
Ella dijo,
And I said,
"Prometo."
promise me,
Okay, una sola vez.
just one time.
Pasaronse las semanas
And several weeks went by,
y entonces en la calle donde vivía,
and on the street where I lived,
el 90% eran católicos.
90% of the people there were
Y
Catholic.
todos iban a la iglesia católica.
Everybody was going to the Catholic church.
Así que yo no quería que ningún católico me viera
So I didn't want any Catholic friend to see me
entrando en una iglesia
going
evangélica.
to an evangelical church.
Así que esperé que esto era bien oscuro.
So I waited until it got a little darker.
Me acuerdo que era un viernes.
I remember it was on a Friday.
Y entonces salí mirando
And I went out looking,
y acá y así.
and
Cuando alguien pasaba,
when I saw
"Hola,
somebody was
Marcio,
passing
¿cómo
by,
estás?"
hey
Digo,
Marcio, how are
¿todo
you?
bien?
Everything's fine.
¿A dónde vas?
Where are you going? Oh,
Yo voy a la esquina.
I'm going over there to the corner.
Ok.
Oh, all right.
Así que fui me escondiendo.
So I went hiding myself,
Y era una pequeña iglesia.
and it was a small church.
Ella tenía quizás unos 25 personas.
Had about maybe 25 people.
Era una iglesita de madera.
It was a wood church.
Era una de las ramas de la iglesia de Dios pentecostal.
It was one of the. It was from one of the Church of God
Es americana.
from here,
Y
from America.
entonces y yo tenía miedo de iglesias protestantes
And I was scared to go in Protestant churches
porque decían que a ellos daban ataques
because they said that they would have certain attacks
y entonces que el diablo entraba en ellos
and that the devil would come into them
y se volvían locos.
and they would get all crazy.
Así que estaba un poco asustado.
So I was very, very scared of those
Y
things.
entonces me arrimé un poco a la puerta
So I went there. I got to the door
y quedé mirando hacia
and
adentro
I went in
y
looking
me senté en el último banco.
and I sat on the last
Y digo,
pew,
bueno,
on the
cualquier
last,
cosa,
and I said, whatever
entonces
happens,
yo me voy.
I'll just walk in and get out.
Si a ellos les dan ataque, yo me voy.
And if somebody gets a heart attack or something happens,
Pero
I'll
yo-
just get up and get out.
Pero ellos estaban cantando.
But they were there just singing.
En la cruz, en
At
la
the
cruz,
cross,
lo
at the
primero
cross, where
era
I
lo-
first saw the light.
Me gustaba
And I was
esta
liking
canción.
that atmosphere.
Y nunca había escuchado himnos evangélicos,
I had never heard Christian songs,
pero estaba escuchando.
and I was listening to
Muy
them.
bonito.
Very pretty.
Y me quedé allí.
And I was listening.
De repente el pastor salió.
Then the pastor came out.
El nombre de él es Marcos.
His name is Brother Marcos.
Y Marcos quiere decir gran martillo.
And the name Marcus means great hammer.
Era uno de estos pastores pentecostales antiguos.
He was one of these old-fashioned Pentecostal
Muy fogoso.
preachers. You know, he was very, very
Y
fiery.
leyó una porción de la Biblia
He read a portion of the scripture
y empezó a predicar.
and he started preaching.
Y yo estaba allá escuchando.
And I was there, back there listening.
Pero de repente,
But then all of a
él
sudden,
había predicado como unos 20 minutos.
he was preaching about 20 minutes had went by.
Y entonces él me miró
And he looked at me
y dijo, usted joven,
and he said, young man,
¿tú te recuerdas
he said, do you remember
que tú estabas allá arriba en el río,
that you were over there in the river,
en medio de aquella selva?
in the middle of that jungle,
Y tú habías cortado aquí la vena, la femoral aquí abajo.
and you had cut your femur down here, your
Y
vein,
te estaba muriendo.
and you were dying?
Y yo,
And I said,
pero ¿cómo ese hombre sabe?
how does this man know that?
¿Y quién lo dijo esto a él?
Who told this man that?
Y yo no había dicho ni siquiera a mi mamá.
I had not even told my mom yet
Entonces,
about it.
¿cómo él sabe?
And so he was talking to me,
Le digo, ¿será que este hombre es un brujo?
and I said, is this man a witch too?
Y yo me quedé mirando
And
así.
I was looking at
Y
him,
entonces, ¿y te acuerdas?
and he would ask me, he
Hicieron
said,
de
do you
todo.
remember that they did a lot on
Y
you,
no pudieron estancar la sangre.
and they couldn't stop the bleeding?
¿Tú te acuerdas que había un brazo de río a la derecha?
Do you remember that there was an exit from the main river there?
Y era exactamente a la derecha.
And it was exactly on the right-hand side of the
¿Cómo este
river.
hombre
where-
sabe de esto?
I said, how does this man know all
Y
these
te acuerdas
things?
que cuando entraron en este brazo de río,
And do you remember that when you all got off this exit on this river,
había un anciano en la orilla
there was an older gentleman,
y este anciano los llamó
and this gentleman had called
y él lo dijo a usted.
and had come to you and
Él
told
dijo,
you,
¿dónde está el muchacho
where is this young
que
man
se cortó el pie?
that cut his foot?
Él dijo, el Eterno me apareció
And he said, because he said, the Eternal One has
y
come
me
to
dijo
me.
que él venía.
And he said that you were
Él
coming
no podía morir,
and that he couldn't die.
no podía morir.
He wasn't
Y él
supposed to
cuidó de
die.
ti
And did you remember?
y yo me quedé,
And I was there just
y
shocked.
digo, ¿qué es esto?
I said, what is this?
Él dijo, este río no existe.
He said, this river does not exist.
Y aquel anciano
And that old man
tampoco existe aquella
does
casa.
not, that house does not exist
Yo
either.
digo, no puede ser.
I said, it can't be.
Pero ¿cómo este hombre sabe?
He said, I said, how does this man know
Él
these
dijo,
things?
el Dios ha cuidado de ti.
He said, God has watched over
¿Qué
you,
más quieres
young man.
tú?
He said, how much do you want to
Tú
know?
dijiste,
You said,
Dios,
you said to God.
yo siempre hablé con las gravuras,
He said, I always spoke
con las estatuas,
to the statues, to the paintings,
porque me dijeron
because they told me
que tú hablabas a través de
that
ellas,
you were talked through those
pero
things.
que nunca había escuchado tu voz.
But you never spoke through, I
tú
never
dijiste,
heard your
Dios,
voice. And you said, Lord,
Si tú existes,
he said, God,
háblame.
if you exist,
alguna manera.
speak to me some way or another.
Oh, hermano,
And I said, brother,
en este día
on this
yo
day,
empecé a llorar.
I started to cry.
Y empecé a llorar como un bebé.
And I started to cry like a little
Porque
boy.
nadie podía saber
Because
esto,
nobody else knew
sino el
these
propio
things
Dios.
unless it was just God that knew.
A quien yo quería escuchar,
I wanted to hear those
estaba
things.
hablando a través de un hombre.
And he was speaking through this man.
Y yo digo, esto es verdad.
And I said, this is the
Y
truth.
me fui al altar,
And I went to the altar.
rendí mi corazón a
I gave
Cristo.
my life to Christ.
Y entonces empecé a llorar.
And I started to cry.
No esperé que terminara la
And
predicación.
I didn't even finish for the preaching to end.
Y recibí a
And I
Jesucristo como mi
accepted Jesus
Señor.
as my Lord and Savior.
Pero me quedé con aquello en mi cabeza.
And those things stayed with me.
Que el río no existe.
I said, what do you mean the river didn't exist?
Y aquella casa tampoco.
And that house wasn't really there?
No, no puede ser.
I said, no, I can't believe it.
Y entonces había un amigo que viajaba todavía para allá.
So there was a friend that was traveling there and that was in that area.
Y entonces yo digo, ve allá y agradece a aquel anciano por mí.
And I told him, I said, can we go back over there and just thank that older gentleman?
Ok. Entonces cuando llegó a la primera casa,
And so when we got to the first house in the
que
area,
por cierto era la última casa,
because really it was the last house
ellos
there,
pararon ahí
they stopped by
y dijeron, bueno, la vez pasada
and they said, well, you know, last time
nosotros pasamos derecho
we came through
porque ya
here,
un muchacho se había cortado el
there was a
pie
young man that was with us, he had cut his
estaba
foot
desangrando
and he was bleeding to death.
y entonces un anciano
And there was an older man,
que conseguimos a unas 5 horas de aquí,
he was about
a unos 3 días de aquí.
it was about 3 days journey from
Y
here,
entonces y habíamos subido este río
and we would came up this river
y en determinado lugar
to a certain place,
y entonces de ahí había un brazo de río a la derecha
and there was an exit off the river there on the right.
y la gente que vivía en esta casa
And the people that lived here in this house,
eran pescadores también
they were
y
fishermen also,
conocían este lugar
and they knew this place.
y dijeron, ¿qué anciano?
And they asked and they said, what
No, un
older
anciano
what
que
older
vive a
man?
3 días de aquí
He said,
arriba.
no, it's an older man that lives about 3
Él
days
dijo,
journey from here.
anciano?
And they said, an old
Allá
man?
no vive ningún anciano.
There's no old man that lives over
No hay
there.
de aquí para arriba no vive más
From
nadie.
here to over there, there's nobody
No
that
hay un
lives that
alma
way.
que tú
There's
puedas
not even
conseguir
one
aquí.
soul that you can find over that.
¿Cómo que no?
And they said, what are you
Allá lo
talking about?
vimos.
We saw him.
Y hay un brazo de río así.
And there was an exit off the river there.
¿Qué brazo de río?
What exit off the
¿Tú estás
river?
loco?
Are you crazy?
Allá no hay este brazo
There's
de
no
río.
exit
Dice,
over there.
no puede
And they
ser.
said it can't be.
No, a este anciano está ahí.
This man is over
vive
there,
en este brazo
and
del
he
río.
lives off that exit.
Él dijo, vamos a hacer una apuesta.
He said, let's make a deal.
Tú me vas a traer un pescado grande,
You bring me a big fish,
¿entiendes? Si tú no encuentras el río,
And
si
it-
tú encuentras el río,
and if you find that river,
yo te doy el pescado.
and I'll give you that
Pero si
fish.
tú no lo encuentras,
But if you don't
tú
find
me
it,
darás el pescado.
you give me the fish.
Él dijo, hecho.
And I said, okay, we made a deal.
Y se fueron.
And they left.
Y cuando vinieron de regreso
And when they came back
y pararon otra vez ahí,
and they stopped,
él dijeron,
they said,
¿encontraste el brazo del río?
did you all find that exit off the river there?
Él dijo, mira, yo estuve ahí.
And they said, look, we were there.
Yo vi este anciano.
I saw this man.
Aquí está los testigos.
Here's my witnesses
los
here,
muchachos
my
dijeron,
friends.
"Sí."
Yes, we
Y era
saw
una
him.
casa así, un palo.
And it
arriba,
was
una
a
casa
house
arriba.
that was sitting on top of a tree.
No, ustedes están,
They said, no,
ustedes están
you
locos.
all are just crazy.
Ustedes están locos. No,
You all are
ahí no hay
crazy.
nadie por ahí.
There's no man that lives on that tree, on a tree.
Hoy muchos de estos muchachos
And And today, a lot of these men,
yo supe después con los años,
I knew later on,
algunos de ellos habían entregado su vida a Cristo,
some of them had come to the Lord,
otros habían muerto.
and some of them had already passed away.
Pero ellos nos dijeron, cuando regresó,
And they said that when they went back over there in that
no
area,
existe esta casa,
they said this house
no
does
existe
not
este
is
anciano,
not there. This man is
y no
not
existe
there,
este brazo
and
del
this
río.
exit off this river
Yo digo,
does not
"Oh,
exist."
Dios,
And I said, "Oh Lord,"
solo hay uno,
I said, "There's only one,
ese es el Señor,
and that's the Lord Jesus.
solo Él.
That's only Him."
Por eso, hermano,
And I said,
Dios cuida de lo suyo.
that's the reason why, brethren,
Mismo siendo
God takes
pecador.
care of His own. We were born in sin, shaped in iniquity.
Mismo siendo un descarriado,
We came here
puede estar,
speaking
puede
lies.
estar en la peor clase de la
You
vida,
can be in the worst of the worst,
pero Dios sabe
but God knows
cómo y de qué manera trae a sus hijos.
how to bring His children.
Hoy doy gracias a Dios
And I thank God for that,
porque Él ha cuidado de mí.
because He's the one who's taken care of me.
Agradezco al Señor por eso.
I thank the Lord for
Ha
this.
sido su obra maestra.
It's been His great, I've been His great
Que
masterpiece.
Dios le bendiga, hermano.
And that God bless you.
Espero que esto sea de ayuda a ustedes.
I hope that this is a blessing to you,
Que Dios les bendiga.
and that the Lord bless
Muchas
you.
gracias
Thank you,
y Dios les guarde.
and God keep
Muchas
you.
gracias.
Thank you very much.
God bless you once again. We've asked Brother Marcio Da Gama if he would share some more testimonies with us. His testimonies are so encouraging to us, and we just thank the Lord that we can hear these things. Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing the word of the Lord. And so we're going to ask Brother Luis if he'll interpret for Brother Marcio once again, another warm testimony. God bless you.
Bueno, una vez más, Dios les bendiga.
One more time, Lord bless you.
Bueno, quiero compartir con ustedes un testimonio.
I want to share with you another testimony.
Cómo fue que el Señor me dio mi esposa.
How the Lord gave me my wife.
Yo he aprendido en este mensaje
I learned in this message
que hay tres luces para todos nosotros.
there are 3 lights for each one of us.
Siempre cuando usted va a pedir algo a Dios,
Whenever you're going to ask God something,
Dios va a decir para ti no.
sometimes the Lord might say no.
Dios va a decir para ti espera.
Sometimes the Lord might say wait.
O Dios va a decir para ti yes.
Or sometimes the Lord
Sí.
might say yes.
Y muchas de las veces
And many times,
uno nunca sabe con quién se va a casar,
we don't know who we are going to marry,
porque solo Dios es que sabe esto.
because God is the only one who knows these things.
Y tenemos nuestros perfiles.
And we have our profiles.
Yo pastoreo a más de 25 años
I've been pastoring more than 25 years,
y he conversado con muchos jóvenes.
and I've talked to many young people.
Y a veces ellos dicen,
And sometimes they say,
me gustaría casarme con una joven
I'd like to marry a young lady.
que ella sea de esta manera,
I want her to be this
de esta
way.
manera,
I want her to look like
de
this,
esta forma,
to act like this,
así, así.
and this like this.
Entonces, este es el perfil de cada uno.
And so that's the profile that they want.
Yo decía una vez a unos jóvenes,
And I told one of the young people one time,
ustedes no pueden agarrar los perfiles de ustedes
I said, you can't grab your
y
profiles
dice, Dios, aquí está.
and say, Lord, here,
Yo quiero así,
I want it to be like this.
si no es así,
And if it's not like this,
no lo quiero.
I don't want it.
No es de esta manera.
And that's not how it works.
Cuando yo llegué a este mensaje,
And when I came to this message,
había muchas jóvenes en mi iglesia.
there were many young people at my church.
Yo venía de una iglesia
I
pentecostal
came from a Pentecostal background,
y en realidad en la iglesia pentecostal
and in the Pentecostal church,
me gustaba una joven.
there was a young lady there that I really liked,
Ella era bautista
and she was Baptist,
y yo era
and I
pentecostal.
was Pentecostal.
Ella estaba estudiando para pastora
And she was studying to be a pastor,
y yo estaba estudiando para pastor.
and I was studying to be a pastor.
Así que estaba la cosa muy bien caminada.
So the thing was, it seemed like it was going the right direction.
Pero fue justamente en este periodo de tiempo
But during this time,
en que el mensaje llegó a mi vida.
that the message came to my life,
Y entonces ella decidió
and so she decided
que yo tenía que seguir mi rumbo y ella de ella.
that she needed to go her way and I needed to go mine.
Y bueno, en realidad yo no sabía el por qué me estaba diciendo no.
And honestly, I did not know why she was telling me no.
Pero después vine a comprender
But later on, I understood
que era por causa de la voluntad perfecta del Señor.
that it was because of the perfect will of the Lord.
Y entonces ella se casó con un pastor bautista.
So she married a young Baptist pastor,
Y entonces yo me fui para la iglesia del mensaje.
and so I went to a message church.
Pero yo estaba tan enamorado del mensaje
But I was so in love with the
que
message
yo quería saber todo sobre el profeta.
that I wanted to know everything about
sobre
the
los
prophet,
misterios.
about the mysteries.
Y había muchas jóvenes en mi iglesia,
And there were many young people in my church,
muy buenas muchachas.
and very good young ladies.
Pero yo no tenía ya no tenía tanto tiempo para eso,
But I didn't have time for that
porque ya comprendí que Dios
because I understood
me estaba guardando.
that God was trying to keep me.
Yo no conocía su plan para el futuro,
I didn't know His plan for the future,
pero sentía que Dios me estaba guardando.
but I understood that God was trying to keep
Y
me.
un día fui al altar
And I went to the altar
y yo dije, Señor,
and I said, Lord,
si algún día
if one day
me das una esposa,
you give me a wife,
yo te pido
I ask you
que me dé una esposa
that you give me a wife
conforme tu carácter.
according to your character.
Yo tenía una cierta tradición en mi familia
I had a certain tradition in my family
que ninguno de nosotros
that none of us
se casara con mujeres blancas.
would marry a white lady.
Y entonces, y yo mantenía esta tradición.
And I was trying to keep this tradition.
Y entonces, y yo decía, Señor,
And I said, Lord,
yo no soy exigente,
I'm not trying to ask for much,
pero yo te pido
but I do ask
que si mi futura esposa
that if, on my future wife,
no sea más alta que yo,
that I hope that she's not taller than me,
y también que ella no sea muy pesada.
and that she is not very heavy either.
Y entonces
So
me puse a orar,
I started praying,
pero después yo digo, Señor, perdóname.
and then I said, Lord, just forgive
Yo
me.
no estoy aquí para decirte a ti
I'm not here to tell you
como yo quiero mi esposa.
how I want my wife.
Yo estoy aquí para aceptar tu voluntad perfecta.
I'm here to accept your perfect will.
Sea como tú quieras, Señor.
Let it be however you want it, Lord.
Que ella llene los requisitos
And that she fulfill the requirements,
bíblicos.
the biblical
Pero
requirements.
solo te pido una cosa,
But I do ask you one
que
thing,
no sea más alta que yo.
that she's not taller than me.
Ok, amén.
Amen.
Bueno, los años pasaron
So the years passed.
y esto fue para el 85.
This was around 1985.
Entonces, cuando fue en el 89,
And when 1989 rolled around,
Dios me lleva a Venezuela.
God takes me to Venezuela.
Entonces, 89 y 90.
And in 89, 1990,
Y entonces, ya en Venezuela,
and they're already in Venezuela,
aprendí un nuevo idioma.
I started learning a new language,
Y
different
había
language.
muchas iglesias,
And there were many churches,
muchas jóvenes,
many young people.
pero yo no estaba con con esta fiebre de conseguir una esposa.
But I didn't have this big desire to go find a wife.
Que yo quería casar en mi país,
Because I really wanted to get married was back in
una
my
que hablara mi
country.
propio lenguaje.
One that spoke my own language.
Y entonces, pero como yo decía estos días,
But the way I was saying it earlier,
que una cosa piensa el burro
that the donkey may be thinking one
y
thing,
otra cosa que lo arrea.
but the one that controls, that leads the donkey is thinking another.
Así que fueron pasando los meses
So the months started going by,
y había una convención indígena.
and there was a convention or a meeting for the indigenous people that was taking place
Y
there.
quedaba 20 horas de donde ellos estaban.
And it was about 20 hours away from where
Así
I
que
was
yo no iba a
staying
esta
at.
convención.
So I wasn't going to this convention.
Pero el misionero de allá
But the missionary there
habló conmigo
spoke to me
y dijo, hermano Marcio,
and he said, Brother
te
Marcio,
estoy esperando en la conferencia.
I'm waiting for you to come to this
Yo
meeting.
digo, hermano, yo no voy.
I said, Brother, I'm not going.
No, yo te estoy esperando.
He said, Brother, I'm waiting
Tú
for you.
tienes que venir.
You have to come.
Bueno, entonces me acuerdo que el autobús
So I remember that the bus
estaba estacionado delante de la iglesia
was parked right there in front of the church,
y entonces estaba esperando por mí,
and he was waiting for me.
pero yo
They
había
were
dicho
waiting.
que yo no iba.
But I had already told him that I wasn't going.
Así que el misionero llamó a la casa donde yo estaba
So the missionary called the house where I was staying at,
y dijo, el hermano Marcio está ahí.
and he said, Brother Marcio's there.
Sí.
He said, yeah.
Hermano Marcio,
He said, Brother
quiero
Marcio,
hablar contigo.
I need to speak to you.
Mira, tú tienes que venir.
He said, look, you need to come.
No, hermano, yo
I
no
said,
voy.
brother,
No,
I'm not
tú tienes que
going.
venir.
Yes, you have to come.
Yo no sé, pero tú tienes que venir.
I don't know, but you have to come.
Te digo, bueno, hermano,
I said,
voy a ver qué hago.
all right, brother, let me see what I can do.
Hablé con un hermano de la casa.
I talked to a brother there at the house,
Él me dijo, hermano Marcio,
and he told me, Brother
yo
Marcio,
estoy de vacaciones.
look, I'm on
Si
vacation.
tú quieres,
If you want to,
yo voy contigo y te
I'll go
acompaño.
with you to that meeting.
Ah, bueno, si tú vas, yo voy también.
I said, okay, well, if you go, I'll go.
Así que fui al Amazonas.
So we went there to the Amazon.
Y entonces, el autobús que yo iba
And so in the bus where we were traveling on,
pasaba por otra ciudad.
it was going through another city,
Y ahí estaba otra comitiva de hermanos
and there was another meeting there
que nos uniríamos
of some brethren that were
y
meeting,
viajaríamos.
that we were going to meet them there, and then we were going to keep going.
Entonces, cuando llegamos ahí,
And so when we were there,
había otro autobús.
there was another bus there,
Y entonces salí,
and then we were there. I came out.
me puse a conocer a los hermanos
I got to know some other brethren,
y me trajeron una guitarra
and they brought me a guitar,
y estaba tocando.
and I was playing.
Y entonces cuando vi una joven
And I saw a young lady
con pelo muy largo,
with very long hair,
y entonces se me acercó
and she came near me,
y me habló algo,
and she told me
pero
something,
yo no entendía.
but I didn't understand
Y el
her.
hermano dijo, hermano,
And the brother told me,
que
brother,
ella está pidiendo la guitarra.
she's asking for your
Oh,
guitar.
¿qué está, hermana?
Oh, I said,
Disculpa.
yeah, sorry, sister,
Y yo
here.
quedé mirando a ella.
And I kept looking at her.
Era una joven tan bonita.
She was such a pretty young lady.
Y entonces yo la miré.
And I looked at her,
Y entonces
And-
yo dije al hermano,
and I told the brother,
ella es casada.
I said, is she married?
Él dijo, hasta donde sé, no.
He said, as far as I know, no.
Ok.
I said, okay.
Y entonces, y él se fue
So he left,
y la quedé observando.
and I just stayed there just observing her.
Y hermano, como que una voz
And it felt like a voice
me dijo,
had told me,
ella es tu esposa,
she is your wife.
mi esposa.
I said, my wife?
Y me quedé pensando.
And I was thinking to myself
Bueno, hicimos el viaje
about it. And so we kept traveling.
y fue un viaje
It was a
maravilloso.
great trip.
Y prediqué en uno de los cultos.
And I preached in one of the meetings.
Y cuando fue ya el último culto,
And on the last meeting,
ya estábamos despediendo.
we were saying goodbyes.
Y entonces yo fui a la hermana.
And I went over to the sister,
Y entonces yo la saludé.
and I greeted her.
Y entonces le dije, hermana,
I said, sister,
Dios te bendiga.
God bless you.
Y entonces ella me dijo, me gustaría que usted fuera a mi iglesia.
And she said, I would like to see maybe you can come visit our church one
Visitar a mi
time.
iglesia.
Visit our church.
Digo, bueno,
I
si
said,
Dios lo vio así, así será.
sure, if the Lord allows it, I'll be there.
Y entonces 3 meses después,
3 months later,
entonces yo fui a esta iglesia.
I went and visited that church.
Y entonces la vi ahí.
And I saw her there.
Y entonces ahí me despedí de todos.
And I said, I was saying goodbye to everybody there.
Vine a mi país.
I came back to my country.
Y yo dije que no volvía más.
And I said, I'm never going to come back again.
Y no iba a volver más.
I wasn't going to go back
Pero en
again.
mi corazón había este sentimiento.
But in my heart, I had this desire.
Y yo dije, Señor,
And I said,
si tú
Lord,
quieres que yo vuelva a este
if
país,
you want me to go back to this country,
entonces que alguien me diga
so allow for someone to
que
tell me
necesita un intérprete,
that they need an interpreter
un
there,
guía para ir a
a
Venezuela.
guide there in Venezuela.
Y esto, un tío mío
And an uncle of mine
llegó conmigo y dijo,
came to me and said,
estoy queriendo pasar vacaciones
he said, I need to go have some
y yo quiero ir a
vacation,
Venezuela.
and I'd like to go to Venezuela.
¿Tú puedes guiarme?
You think can you be my guide?
Yo digo, oh,
I said, well,
qué bien.
I said, okay,
Sí,
sounds
sí,
good.
claro que sí.
So I said, yeah, sure.
Y bueno, viajamos a Venezuela.
And so we went back to Venezuela, traveled in Venezuela.
Y entonces yo había escrito una carta a ella,
And I had written her a letter,
saludándola y todo.
greeting her,
Y entonces hice este viaje con mi tío.
and I made this trip with my uncle.
Ellos regresaron,
They went back,
pero yo me quedé en Venezuela.
but I stayed in Venezuela.
Porque entendí que Dios quería que yo me
Because
quedara
I
ahí.
understood that the Lord wanted me to stay there.
Así que empecé a trabajar
So I started working
en diferentes zonas del país,
in different areas of the
en la
country
obra misionera.
and doing some missionary
Y
work.
entonces, cuando fue al final del 91,
And when at the end of 1991,
yo fui a otra conferencia
I went-
indígena.
I went to another conference of indigenous people there.
Pero antes de viajar,
But before we traveled,
yo fui a hablar con la hermana.
I went to go speak to the
Fui a
sister.
la casa de
I
ella,
went to her house.
hablé con su pastor
I spoke to her
Hablé con
pastor.
su mamá.
I spoke to her mom,
y todos me dieron el visto bueno.
and they told me, "Yeah,
Era
sure,
una buena muchacha.
she's a good girl."
Y entonces me fui a hablar con ella.
I went to talk to her,
Y fue un poco difícil para
and it
mí,
was very difficult for me
porque yo no tenía tanto valor así.
because I wasn't that courageous.
Bueno, hasta que hablé con ella,
So until I started talking to
expresé
her,
mis sentimientos.
I expressed the way I felt about her,
Y ella me dijo, gracias hermano Marcio,
and she said, "Brother Marcio,
que
thank
usted ha
you
venido a mí,
because you came to me.
tantas jóvenes que hay aquí,
So many young girls around
y
here,
usted ha venido a mí a hablar
and you've
conmigo.
come to talk to me."
Si esto es de Dios,
And she said, "If this is of the God, if
Se
this is of
llevará a
God,
cabo.
it's going to take
pero
place.
si no,
But if not,
mañana terminará.
tomorrow things will just end."
El tiempo fue pasando
And time went by,
y vivíamos a 750 kilómetros de distancia.
and we were living about 750 kilometers away from each other.
Así que yo siempre la llamaba,
And so I would always call her.
ella nunca me llamó.
She never called me.
Y entonces yo siempre la llamaba.
I would always call her.
Y entonces yo estaba enamorado,
And so I was falling in love,
bien enamorado.
very in love.
Y entonces yo siempre quería escuchar su voz.
I always wanted to hear her voice.
Y entonces un día la llamo
And so one day I call her,
y ella me dice,
and she tells me,
hermano Marcio,
she said, "Brother Marcio,
yo no te amo,
I don't love you.
yo no te quiero.
I don't really like you."
Oh, hermano,
And something,
esto fue un golpe duro para mí.
this was very hard for me to accept.
Y dicen que hombre no llora,
And they say that man don't cry,
pero este día yo lloré.
but this day I cried.
Me puse a llorar mucho.
Yeah.
Y entonces me fui a la casa,
So I went home,
muy triste,
very sad,
pensativo.
very thinking about
Me
things.
puse a orar
I was praying,
y yo dije, oye, pero si ella no me quisiera,
and I said, "My, if she doesn't like me,
pero ya me hubiera dicho.
she would have already told me that a long
Yo
time
digo que
ago."
oraríamos.
And she said that we would be praying
A lo
about it.
mejor me está probando.
Maybe she's just testing
A
me
ver si voy a desistir.
to see if I'm going to say no to her.
No voy a desistir.
But I'm not going to say no.
Voy a proseguir.
I'm going to continue
Y
this.
así fue yendo.
And this is how it happened.
Y entonces cuando fue en la convención al final del año,
And so when that last convention of that year,
yo viajé
Came
entonces
through.
a la convention indígena.
I traveled over to that convention,
Y entonces en esta convención ella estaba.
and she was there at that convention.
Y entonces estaba muy contento porque ella estaba allá.
She was very happy to see me there,
Pero siempre mantuvimos la distancia.
but we always maintained the distance.
Y me acuerdo que un día
And I remember one day,
me acerqué a ella para hablar con ella.
I went to her to just, greet her.
Me dijo, hermano Marcio,
She said, "Brother Marcio,
yo no puedo darte un sí
I can't give you a yes
hasta que Dios
until God
me diga sí.
gives me a yes.
Yo no quiero hacer mi
I
voluntad,
don't want it to be my will,
ni tu voluntad.
and I don't want it to be your
Yo quiero
will.
hacer la voluntad de mi Dios.
I want to do the will of God."
Yo digo, sí, hermana, tú
I
tienes
said,
razón.
"Yes, sister,
Perdóname por
you're
eso.
right. Forgive me for that."
De veras, nosotros hombres somos muy apurados.
And us as men, we
Pero-
try to I don't want you do your own will.
Mientras Dios no me diga algo,
And if God doesn't tell me
yo no
anything,
puedo decirte nada.
I can't tell you
Yo
nothing.
dije, tienes razón, mi
I
hermana.
said, "Sister, you're right."
Perdóname por
I
eso.
said, "Forgive me for that."
Nosotros los hombres
Us as men,
somos muy apurados.
we rush things all
Perdóname.
the time, and just
Y
forgive
bueno,
us.
tuvimos una buena conversación.
Forgive me. And so we had a good conversation.
Y bueno, prediqué este último culto.
And I preached this last
Y
service.
entonces cuando terminó, yo fui a despedirme de ella.
And when it was ended, I went to say goodbye to
Y yo
her.
le dije, hermana Teodora,
And I said, Sister Theodora,
Dios te bendiga,
God bless you.
gracias por todo.
Thank you for
Si
everything.
no nos vemos aquí,
If I don't see you
nos
here,
veremos del otro lado del
I'll
río.
see you on the other side of the river.
Ella me miró
And she looked at me.
y me dijo, hermano,
She said, Brother.
¿por qué me dice esto?
She said, why do you tell me
No
this?
sé.
I said, I don't know.
Un sentí que tuve.
Maybe it's just a feeling I
Bueno,
had.
está bien.
She said,
Nos
okay.
despedimos y ya se fue.
We said goodbye, and that was it.
12 horas después
12 hours later,
tuve un accidente.
I was in a very bad
Éramos
accident.
cuatro en el carro
4 of us in the car.
y tuvimos un accidente.
We had a very bad car accident.
Nuestro carro quedó 800 metros de la carretera
Our car went off the side of the road about 800 meters.
y un accidente muy horrible.
It was a very terrible accident.
Fue tanto así que la policía
It was so bad that the police
ella anunció 4 muertos
had already pronounced 4 dead people
porque la condición que el carro quedó
because the condition that the car was in,
no era para nadie sobrevivir.
it didn't seem like anybody could survive
Y
that
entonces,
crash.
pero 3 de los hermanos
But 3 of the brethren,
salieron ilesos del carro,
they got out of the car,
pero yo sí estaba muy mal.
but I was very
Me
bad.
golpeé mucho la
I
cabeza
had hurt my head very badly,
y entonces el parabrisas se partió
and the windshield had broken in
y
pieces,
los astillas, los pedacitos de
and the
vidrio
pieces of glass
entraron en mis ojos,
came inside my eyes,
así que
got in my eyes,
y
and
perdí todo el conocimiento.
I lost it.
Y entonces los hermanos me cuentan
And so the brethren, they tell me
que cuando el carro paró
that when the car had stopped
y entonces ellos se palpaban si estaban vivos,
and they were touching themselves to see if they were
y
alive,
entonces cuando se salieron del carro,
and when they got out of the
hermano,
car,
¿cómo está? ¿Está bien?
they said, they came to me, brother, are you okay? Are
El
you
hermano
okay?
Marcio, ¿dónde está?
Oh, where's brother Marcio? Where's
Y la
brother
puerta
Marcio?
estaba encerrada
And the door was
y
closed,
ellos la
shut,
forzaron
and
y abrieron
they
la puerta
forced it open,
y me encontraron hacia abajo
and they found me
del tablero
under the dashboard,
y yo estaba en una poza de sangre
and I was in a pool of blood.
y estaba poniendo sangre por la boca,
There was blood coming out of my
por
mouth,
el oído, la
blood
nariz,
coming out of my ears, out of my nose.
así que mi estado no era bueno.
So the state that I was in
Estado
was
era
not
muy
good.
malo.
And I was in very bad
Entonces me
condition.
sacaron, me tendieron ahí en el piso
And so they laid me out on the floor.
y algunos carros se pararon por allá,
Some cars had stopped by to see what was going on.
2 personas que vivían por allí
2 people that lived in
Se
that
acercaron.
nearby, they came
y,
over.
y entonces los hermanos cuando me vieron,
And when the brethren, they came and they saw me,
el ojo se había volteado
my eyes had already rolled back.
y entonces no había más latido en el corazón
There was no more heartbeat.
y ellos se arrodillaron alrededor
And they all
empezaron
knelt down and they
a
started
clamar y a
crying
gritar y a
out to
gritar
God
y a
and praying
gritar, Señor,
and saying, Lord,
hemos venido de una gran
we've come
bendición,
from a great blessing.
no podemos regresar a
We
casa
can't go back home
con este problema,
with this problem
con
here in front of
derrotas.
us, with this
no aceptamos esto,
we can't accept this,
no
Lord.
aceptamos,
We
Señor.
can't accept
Y ellos
this,
se
Lord.
pusieron a orar,
And they were just praying.
las 2 personas se acercaron
The 2 neighbors
Me
nearby
tomaron el
came
pulso.
and they took my pulse
y pusieron los dedos aquí
Put
en
their
la
fingers
garganta,
right
en
here.
el cuello para ver cómo estaba,
on my neck to see.
no había nada de
There was
vida,
no pulse, no life
el
there.
corazón se paró,
My heart had stopped beating.
el ojo se había volteado,
My eyes had
ya
already
había
rolled back.
agarrado otro color,
My skin was
no
turning
había
pale.
vida
There was no life.
y los hermanos estuvieron gritando
And
y
the brethren were
llorando
there crying and screaming.
y 1 hora pasaron
1 hour had went by,
y la gente decía,
and the people were saying,
pero ustedes son locos,
"Are you all crazy?
¿cómo que ustedes van a estar orando a un muerto?
How are you all praying for a
Dejen de estar
dead
orando.
man? Stop
¿No,
praying!
no han visto que este hombre está
Don't you
muerto?
see this man is
Se ha
dead?
muerto,
He's dead.
pare con esto,
Stop
Y
doing
ellos
this."
siguieron orando,
And they just
orando.
kept praying. The brethren just kept praying,
llorando.
kept praying.
Pero al pasar de las horas
And after a few hours had passed,
y entonces algo sucedió.
something had happened.
Yo en realidad, hermano,
And really,
lo que yo escuchaba
my brethren, what I was hearing
eran voces
were voices
muy lejos
from far off.
y yo iba acá como que caminaba como por un túnel
And I felt like as if I was walking through a
y
tunnel,
iba caminando,
and I was just walking.
pero a lo lejos veía muchas luces,
But at the end of the tunnel, I saw great lights,
pero yo escuchaba personas gritando,
and I was hearing people screaming,
Señor, devuélvenos,
saying, "Lord, bring them
tráenos,
back,
Señor.
bring them back to us, Lord."
Y entonces a medida que iba caminando despacio,
And so as I was walking through this tunnel slowly,
una voz dijo,
a voice spoke out
aún no es el tiempo,
and said, "This is not the time yet.
regresas.
go back
hasta que tu obra esté completa.
until your work is fulfilled.
Y entonces fue cuando regresé
And so that's when I went back
y entonces empecé a llorar
and I started to cry,
y entonces una lágrima brotó por el lado derecho
and a tear fell down from my right eye,
y moví mi lado izquierdo.
and I moved my left arm.
Y las personas que estaban ahí,
And the people that were around me,
cuando vieron que moví
when
un
they saw
brazo,
that I moved my left arm,
¿pero
they,
qué pasa?
they were like, "Oh my, what's going on?
Por este muerto está vivo.
This dead man is now alive.
¿Cómo puede ser esto?
How in the world?
Y
What?"
entonces cuando agarraron mi
And
pulso,
so when they grabbed and looked for my
el
pulse,
corazón empezó otra vez.
my heart started beating slowly
trabajar, a
again,
trabajar.
back,
Y
beating slowly back up.
Y entonces le dijo, un milagro.
And they said, "Oh my, it's a
Este es un
miracle.
milagro.
This is a
No
miracle.
puede ser.
It can't be.
Este hombre ha vuelto a
This
vida.
man has come back to life."
Y los hermanos
And the
gritaron
brethren
y
they
empezaron a
started
gritar y a
screaming and
llorar.
praising God,
Y ellos dijeron,
thanking
oren
God.
por nosotros.
And they said, "Pray for
Oren
us."
por nosotros.
They said, the people around
Yo
there
quiero
said, "Pray
Jesús.
for us." They said, "We want
Queremos
Jesus
este
too.
Dios.
We want the same God that can do this."
Y oraron por ellos.
And the brethren prayed for them.
Nunca lo vi, no sé quién es.
I never saw who they were,
Pero sé que entregaron sus
but I
vidas.
know that they asked the
De
Lord
me
Jesus
llevaron al
come
hospital
to their lives. Then they took me to the
y había
hospital,
anunciado 4 muertos.
and they had pronounced that there were 4 dead men.
Cuando me bajaron ahí,
When they pulled me over
los
to the
médicos dijeron, ahí
hospital,
viene el primero muerto.
they said the first dead man is coming.
Pero entonces cuando me bajaron,
And then when they put me down,
y dijeron, no, pero este hombre está vivo.
they said, "Wait, this man is
Él
alive.
está vivo.
This man's alive.
Hay sangramiento, pero está vivo.
He's bleeding, but there's
Me
life."
llevaron para la
They
emergencia.
took me to the emergency room.
Me dieron los brazos, todo.
They looked at my arms.
Y entonces dijeron,
And they said,
despierta.
"Wake up, brother,
Me
wake up,
inyectaron algo.
wake up." And they put
Y
something on me.
yo volví y me quedé mirando.
And I came back and I was just looking around.
Y ahí no, al momento sentía como que se la vista oscurecía.
And I felt sometimes like my vision was
no podía ver bien.
going, but I couldn't see properly.
Y cerré mis ojos.
And I closed my eyes.
Y no podía abrir los
I
ojos.
couldn't see.
Y el médico vino
And so the doctor came
y me examinó.
and he looked at me.
No hay huesos rotos.
He said, "There's no broken
Parece
bones.
que hay muchos aporreos.
Looks like you have a lot of
Y
bruises.
la columna está bien.
Your spinal cord is
Y
okay.
entonces la cabeza,
Your head."
él dijo, parece que el problema es la cabeza porque hay mucha sangre.
He said, "It seems like the majority of damage is on the head."
Entonces cuando hizo así que abrí mis ojos,
And so when he opened up my eyes like that,
habían pedazos de vidrios,
there were pieces of glass,
pastillas de vidrio en mis
pieces of
ojos.
glass inside my eyes.
Y entonces él dijo,
And he said,
hay que mover este hombre de aquí a la capital.
"We're gonna have to move this man over to the hospital at the
Era un
capital."
24 de diciembre.
It was on the 24th of December when
La
this
cosa estaba
happened,
muy mala.
and things were very
Hay que
busy.
llevarlo a
And
la capital
he said, "Let's take him to the capital
porque este hombre puede hasta sobrevivir,
because this man could live,
pero quedará ciego
but he might end up blind
porque las astillas se han metido en sus
because the
ojos.
glass has went right through his
Cuando escuché
eyes."
esto,
And when I heard this,
yo me puse a llorar.
I started to cry.
Yo digo, Señor,
I said, "Lord,"
yo no quiero quedar
he said,
ciego.
I don't want to be blind.
Yo no quiero estar ciego.
I don't want to end up blind."
Y esto estaba mi cuñado,
And my brother-in-law
él
was
se
there.
acercó
He came to me
y me dijo,
and he said,
¿cómo estás?
"How are you?"
Digo, ¿tú has escuchado?
He said, "I heard that
Los médicos dijeron
the doctors
que me voy a quedar ciego.
said that you might end up blind."
Pero yo no voy a quedarme ciego.
And I told him, I said, "I'm not going to end up blind."
Si tú oras,
He said, "If you pray."
si tú oras por mí,
I said, "If you pray for
yo
me,
lo creo,
and I'll believe
que
it,
yo voy a ver nuevamente.
that I'm going to see
Él
properly."
dijo, yo lo creo también.
He's told me, he
Y
said, "I
entonces
believe it too."
pidió permiso a los médicos
And he asked the doctors
Los médicos se
if they could
apartaron.
step out.
y él se arrodilló,
And he got on his knees
se levantó una mano,
and he lifted his hand,
puso otra mano en mi,
He put it-
en mi rostro
his other hand over my
y se
eyes,
puso a orar.
and he started to pray.
Y oró el Señor
And he prayed to God
con toda su alma.
with all that he
Y
had.
él oró tan profundo.
And he prayed such a
entonces-
great prayer.
Él dijo, abra tus ojos.
And he said,
En
"Open
el
your
nombre del
eyes."
Señor,
In the name of the Lord
abre tus
Jesus,
ojos.
open your
Y
eyes.
entonces, pan, abrí mis ojos.
And I opened my
Cuando abrí
eyes.
mis ojos,
When I opened up my eyes,
y yo podía ver tan bien como lo veo ahorita.
I could see just as well as I could see right now,
Sin lente.
without my
Y
glasses.
entonces los médicos dijo, pero esto no es posible.
And the doctor said, "Wow, this
Y el
is
médico
not
se
possible."
acercó.
And the doctors came to me.
Él dijo, pero no hay ningún
He
vidrio.
said, "But there's no glass in
¿Pero
there.
qué ha pasado?
What happened?
Él dijo, ¿qué son ustedes?
What did you guys do?"
Y entonces un médico dijo,
And one of the doctors said,
esto es un milagro.
"This is a miracle.
Esto es un milagro.
This is a miracle."
Y entonces Y entonces yo podía ver muy
and
bien.
I could see very well.
Llegó la ambulancia.
So the ambulance
Y me llevó a
came
la clínica.
and took me over to another clinic.
Entonces, cuando llegamos a la clínica,
And when we went over to the
el
other
médico
clinic,
vino, me examinó
the doctor
completo,
came and looked at me over
abrió
again,
mis ojos
opened
bien
up my eyes really well,
y dijo, ¿quién te dijo que tenías vidrios en los ojos?
and he said, "Who told you you had a glass in your eyes?"
Bueno, los médicos allá.
And I said, "The doctors over there
Y
said
yo
so."
sentía como que estaba oscura la vista.
And I felt that like my vision was kind of
Me
blurry.
agarró una lupa, miró
And he looked very
y
closely.
dijo, ¿vidrios?
And he said, "A glass?"
No, ahí no hay nada
He
de
said,
vidrio.
"There's nothing there."
Yo digo, gracias Señor.
I said, "Thank you, Lord.
Gracias Señor.
Thank you, Lord."
Y entonces me hizo una examen de la cabeza.
And he examined my head.
Él dijo, todo está muy bien.
He said, "Everything looks good."
Pero con el golpe que fue dado,
He said, but because of the
y yo
hit
sangraba por la nariz, los ojos y el oído.
that you received, I was bleeding through my eyes, my
Entonces
nose, my
había
ear,
algo en la cabeza que había pasado.
and something had happened on my head.
Pero cuando regresé,
But when I had
no
come
había
back,
nada,
he said there was
absolutamente nada.
nothing that was there.
Todos los huesos estaban
All
bien,
my
todo
bones were
completo.
okay. Everything was all
Él dijo,
fine.
tiene algunos aporreos,
He said, "You have a few
pero
bruises,
estarás bien.
but you're gonna be okay."
Y entonces ya me adelanté un poco a la historia,
And so I'm going ahead a little
pero
bit in the
entre el
story.
accidente
And so in between the
y el
accident,
hospital,
and between when the accident happened and when I went to the hospital,
alguien llamó a la casa de mi esposa
somebody called my wife's house.
y llamó y dijeron, ¿es la familia Graterol?
And they called and said, "Is this the Graterol family?"
Sí,
Yes.
queremos informar
We want to let you know
que los hermanos que venían de la conferencia
that the brethren that were leaving the conference,
tuvieron
going
un
back
accidente
home,
muy grave.
were in a very bad accident. Amen. Praise.
Y el hermano Marcio partió con el Señor.
And Brother Marcio has went to be with the Lord.
Se ha ido con el Señor.
He's went to be with the
Ha
Lord.
muerto.
He's died.
Y los hermanos llegaron
And the brethren came,
cuando escucharon esto.
and they're in her house, and then when they heard
Y
this,
cada quien fue a su cuarto.
each one of them went to their own room,
Y ella escuchó también esto.
and my wife heard these
Ella entró a
things,
su cuarto.
and she went into her
Se
room.
arrodilló.
She knelt down to pray.
Se puso a orar.
She started to pray.
Y le dije, Señor,
She said, "Lord,"
usted me lo ha enviado de tan
she
lejos.
said, "You sent him from such far.
Tantas jóvenes hay en el país.
So many young girls are in this
Y
country,
él vino a mí
and he came straight to me,
y ha hablado conmigo.
has talked to me,
Y ahora usted me lo quita.
and now you're taking him away from me.
Señor,
Lord,
si él es mi esposo,
if he is my husband,
este teléfono
this phone right
sonará
here
otra vez
will ring
y
again
dirá que todo está
and
bien.
will tell me that he's okay."
Él estaba orando aún.
And as she was praying,
Fue cuando el teléfono sonó otra vez.
the phone rang,
Era su hermano,
and it was her brother.
era mi cuñado.
It was my brother-in-law.
Y dijo, mamá, papá, mamá,
And he said, "Is my mom and
¿cómo
dad there?"
están?
Mom, Dad?
Oh, mi hijo, que
Oh, how are you,
mamá,
son?
tuvimos un accidente
He
muy
said,
feo, muy
Mom,
grave.
Mom, we were in a very bad car accident.
Y solo te estoy llamando
And
para
I'm just-
informarte
I'm just calling you to let you know
que el hermano Marcio estaba muy mal.
that Brother Marcio was in a very bad
Había
condition,
muerto,
and he had died.
murió en la
He
carretera.
had died on the road.
Pero oramos más de una
But we
hora
prayed over an hour,
y algo sucedió.
and something
Él
happened.
volvió a vida
He came back to
y
life,
ya está fuera de peligro.
and he's out of danger now.
Parece que tenía el cráneo se había partido.
Looks like he had messed his head up a
Pero
little
cuando
bit.
llegamos al hospital,
But when we got to the
no había
hospital,
un hueso
there was
partido.
not one
Todo estaba
broken
normal.
bone. Everything was okay.
Él ya está fuera de peligro.
And he's out of danger
Él
now.
ya está bien.
He's okay.
Ella dijo, gracias
And she
Señor,
said, "Thank you, Lord.
este es mi esposo.
This is my husband.
Esta fue la forma
This is the way,
sobrenatural.
the supernatural way
Cómo fue que me casé con mi esposa.
how I married my wife."
Y entonces, y de ahí me llevaron a la ciudad donde ella vivía.
And so they took me to the city where she lived,
Y por supuesto,
and of course,
yo estaba contento
I was very happy
porque estaba en la ciudad donde ella
because I
vivía.
was in the city where she was living,
Y un día me fui a visitar
and I went to visit,
y entonces habló conmigo.
and she spoke with me.
No me había dicho nada,
She had not told me anything,
pero yo tenía una seguridad
but I was sure
de que Dios ya había hablado con ella.
that God had already talked to her.
Pasé fin de año
And I went that year, Year's Eve
y
came.
me invitó a su casa. Yo
She
fui,
invited me to her house,
y entonces conocí a su padre
and I met her
Y entonces-
father, and
Quando foi el mês de maio,
And,
mês de fevereiro, maio, el mês de abril
and in the month of April that following year,
del año 92,
in 1992,
entonces yo estaba muy bien
I was better now.
y ya hablaba con ella
And I was talking to her.
y entonces me acuerdo que la ciudad donde yo vivía,
And I remember at the city where I lived
yo
in,
tenía un apartado
I had a
correo.
P.O. box there.
y entonces cuando llego a mi apartado
And when I went to my P.O.
y
box
lo abro,
and I opened it,
había varias cartas.
there was several letters there.
Cuando abro que veo una carta,
But I see a certain letter,
miré,
and I looked,
hermana Teodora.
and it said Sister Theodora,
Hermana Teodora,
Sister Theodora,
una carta.
a letter.
Y mi cuñado me dijo,
And my brother-in-law told me,
ábrela.
open it.
No,
I
señor.
said, no.
Esta es una carta para ti.
This is not for you. This is for
Y
me.
entonces guardé la
So
carta.
I kept the letter,
Y entonces nosotros íbamos a hacer algunas diligencias.
and we went over to do a couple of things.
Pero yo quería llegar al apartamento.
But I wanted to go back
Yo
home
quería saber qué estaba
because I
escrito
wanted
en
to
la
see
carta.
what that letter said.
Y entonces él dijo, pero tú no vas. No, ve tú.
And he said, no, you're going with me. I said,
Estás
no, just go.
curioso para ver la
He
carta.
said, you're probably curious as to what the contents of the
Yo
letter
digo,
are,
sí,
right?
sí, es verdad.
Yeah,
Vete tú.
you're right. So just go on ahead.
Y
Go on
cuando
ahead.
llegué a la
And when
casa-
I got home
Cuando abrí la carta,
and when I opened up the
me
letter
puse a leerla
and I started reading it,
y entonces yo entendí
and I understood
que Dios ya había hablado a ella.
that God had already talked to her.
Entonces cuando fue en abril,
And so when I went in April,
yo estaba en Barquisimeto
I was in Barquisimeto,
para la
Venezuela,
reunión de pastores
at a pastor's meetings there.
y entonces hay un parque muy grande,
There was a great park there.
es un zoológico.
It was like a zoo.
Y entonces de repente el teléfono, yo estaba en la casa de un hermano.
And I was at a brother's house,
Yo digo, hermano Marcio, ¿tú vas a salir?
and they asked me, they said, Brother Marcio, are you going
No,
out?
no,
I said,
no
no,
voy a salir
I'm
hoy."
not going to go out today.
Y entonces él dijo, hermano, y si alguien te llama,
They said, Brother Marcio, if somebody calls you,
bueno hermano, yo voy a descansar.
and I said, well, brother, I'm actually going to go and lay
Dile que
down
no
for a
puedo
little while.
salir, estoy
Just tell them that I
descansando,
can't go out, because
nadie, no te preocupes.
don't worry,
Yo voy a
don't
descansar.
worry about it. I'm just going to go rest.
Y entonces me fui para el cuarto.
So I went to my room,
Y entonces oré un rato
and I went and prayed for a
y
little while,
me puse a arreglar la ropa.
and my wife
Y era
was
como,
fixing
era
the
como a
clothes.
las 9 de la mañana.
It was about 9 a.m.
El teléfono suena.
and the phone rings.
Caló, pero yo podía escuchar.
And so I could hear
Sí.
who was over the phone. I didn't pick up the phone.
Ok.
Oh yeah,
Bueno,
okay, all
yo
right,
seguía arreglando las cosas.
all right. And you kept.
Ok, al hermano Marcio.
Oh, you want to speak to Brother Marcio?
Bueno, yo no sé si él le puede atender.
I don't know if he could talk to you.
Bueno, voy a preguntar.
Well, let me go ask him.
Hermano
Brother
Marcio,
Marcio,
teléfono para ti.
you have a phone call.
Ay, hermano, estoy aquí,
Oh,
estoy
brother, I'm
descansando.
here. I'm trying to rest.
Bueno, diga que después doy retorno. Después llamo.
Just tell him that I'll call him back. I'll call him
Ella
back.
dijo, ¿tienes certeza?
He said, "Are you sure
¿Y quieres llamar ella después?
that you want to call her back again?"
Yo digo, ¿pero ella quién?
I said, "Who is she?"
Es la hermana Teodora.
It's Sister Theodora.
¿Cómo?
I said, "What?
¿Pero por qué no me ha dicho antes?
Why didn't you tell me before?"
Bueno, pero usted no dijo que no quería atender a nadie.
But you said you didn't want to talk to anybody, so
No, ya voy a
go,
atender.
go. All right.
Cuando atendí,
And when I
Era
picked
ella.
up the phone, and it was
le
her.
dijo,
And
hermano
she
Marcio,
said, "Brother
¿cómo estás?
Marcio, how are you?"
Yo estoy muy bien.
I said, "I'm
¿Y usted?
fine. How are you?"
Me dijo, ¿estás ocupado?
I said, "Are you busy?"
Yo estaba ocupado.
And I said, "I was busy."
Yo digo, no
I
estoy
said, "No,
ocupado.
I'm not
todo
busy at
está
all.
muy bien, todo es una
I'm
maravilla, todo
okay.
está
It's
muy
a
bien.
pleasure to be able to hear your voice."
¿Y por qué?
I said, "Why?"
Usted puede venir aquí al parque,
He said, "Can you come over here to
Al
the
zoológico.
park, to the zoo that's
Yo
nearby?"
al zoológico.
I said, "Why to the zoo?"
¿Y con quién usted está
I said,
ahí?
"Who are you there with?"
No, estoy con mi mamá.
I said, "I'm here with my mom."
Ok.
Oh, okay,
No, claro,
all right.
sí, yo voy.
All right, sure, yeah, I'll be there.
Entonces el hermano dijo, me miró y dijo, ¿y por qué estás tan contento?
And so the brother that was there with me and said, "Why are you so happy?"
Yo digo, no, ¿por qué yo voy a salir?
He said, "Because I'm going to go
No,
out."
tú me dijiste que no
He said,
iba a
"No, wait,
salir.
you said you weren't going to go
No,
out
pero es una
today."
emergencia.
I said, "But this is an emergency.
Tengo que atender una emergencia.
I have to go. This is an emergency."
Ajá,
Oh, I
esa es
see.
la hermana Teodora.
Because it has to do with Sister Theodora. So
Entonces me fui al parque,
I went to the park.
ella estaba ahí con su mamá
She was there with her mom.
y entramos
And we went, and
y yo estaba muy nerviosa.
I was very nervous.
Yo no sabía qué
I
decir.
didn't know what to do.
Y entonces yo hablaba poco
And I spoke very
y ella
little.
hablaba menos.
And she spoke little too.
Y así que ella me preguntó,
So she
¿cómo
asked
estás?
me, and she said, "How are you?"
Estoy bien.
I said, "I'm fine."
¿Y usted cómo está?
How are you, sister?
muy bien.
I'm fine. She's
Y
fine.
yo
She
hablé
said
con su mamá.
she was there with her mom,
Y entonces yo digo, Dios mío, ¿y ahora?
and she said, "My," I said, "My,
¿Será que me trajo aquí
why did she bring me here
delante de su mamá
in front of her mom
justamente para ponerme en mi lugar?
to put me in my place?"
Dios mío, Señor.
I said,
Bueno,
"My Lord," I said.
por lo menos no hay tanta gente aquí.
I said, "Well, at least there's not a lot of
Y
people around,
la gente está por allá,
and
estamos aquí.
people were over there."
Y yo estaba temblando
And I was
y
trembling.
no sabía ni qué hablar.
I didn't even know what to do.
Y entonces, hablando, no, estamos todos bien, todos
And
estamos
we were
bien,
talking,
gracias a
and
Dios.
everybody's fine, everything's
Y de
going good.
repente su mamá dijo,
And then her mom says,
yo voy allí a comprar algo.
"I went over there to buy something,
Y quédense los dos ahí.
and you both just stay right here."
Y yo me quedé así.
And I looked at her
Y
like
fuimos
that.
hacia el lago.
And I went over towards where the lake was
Y
at, the little
entonces
pond,
habían peces.
and there were some fish there.
Y entonces yo no sabía qué decir.
And I didn't know what to tell her.
Y entonces yo digo, hermana, yo voy allí a comprar algo para dar a los peces.
And I said, "Sister Theodora, I'm gonna go over there and buy some food for the
Yo
fish."
compré comida para los
I went
peces.
bought some fish food
Porque yo no tenía asunto para hablar, no tenía
because
palabras.
I really didn't have any words to tell her.
Y estaba nerviosa, y me quedaba
And I was
mirando.
very nervous, and
Y
I
yo
would
más
look
nervioso
at her,
estaba.
and she would look at me, and we were both just there
Y todos los
nervous.
peces.
And I was there feeding the fish.
Entonces ella me miró, me dijo,
She would look at me, and she
Hermano
said,
Marcio.
"Brother Marcio,"
quiero decirte algo.
she said, "I want to tell you something."
¿Ok, hermana?
"What is it, sister?"
Yo quiero decirle algo.
He said, "I want to tell you something."
Sí, mi hermana.
"What is it,
Y
sister?"
la miré a ella.
And I looked at her,
Y yo la miraba y agachaba la cabeza.
and I would kneel my head like this,
Y ella me dijo,
and she said,
hermano Marcio,
"Brother
quiero
Marcio,
decirte
I want to tell
que
you
yo te amo.
that I love you.
Yo te amo
I love you
con toda mi alma.
with everything that's within me.
Tú eres mi esposo.
You're my husband.
Dios me habló a mí
God talked to
y
me,
me dijo que tú eres mi
and He
esposo.
told me that you're my husband.
Y no soy una buena cocinera,
And I'm not a good cook,
pero juntos podemos aprender.
but together we can learn
Le
together."
digo, no te preocupes,
And he said, "Don't worry."
Yo soy
She said, "Don't
cocinero.
worry." And I told her, I said, "Don't worry.
Yo sé
I cook.
cocinar.
I know how to cook.
yo te enseño.
I'll teach you."
Y entonces, que Dios te bendiga,
And I
hermano.
said, "God bless you,
No
sister."
tengo mucho que
I
darte,
said, "I don't know. I don't have much to
pero
give
Dios
you."
nos ayudará.
But I said, "God will help us."
Y el día 5 de junio
And on the 5th of June,
del año 93,
1993,
entonces nos casamos.
we got married. Officially got
Por la
married.
gracia del
And by
Señor,
the grace of the Lord,
hemos estado juntos
we've been together.
en los momentos difíciles,
Tough
los
times,
momentos de abundancia,
abundant
los
times,
momentos de escasez.
times of when we were
Dios
lacking.
nos ha dado 6 hijos
God has given us 6
y
children,
ella ha sido una gran mujer.
and she's been such a
Que
great,
Dios bendiga a
great
ella.
partner.
Ha
And
sido
God bless her.
una madre muy
She's
especial,
been such a special mom,
dedicada a los hijos.
dedicated to her children.
Y yo siempre he estado viajando
And I've been traveling a lot.
y ella ha estado ahí con los
She's
hijos.
been right there with
Y
our
ha sido
children.
todo una gran
And it's
bendición.
been such a great blessing for all
Todos
of
mis
us.
hijos sirven al Señor.
All my children serve the Lord.
Todos están ahí, los varones me ayudan.
All my sons, they help me out.
Y mis hijas son
And
del hogar,
my daughters, they're there,
estudian
ladies of the
también.
home, and
Y yo agradezco a mi
they
Dios
help out, and I just
por
thank
la
God for
esposa que Él
that,
me ha dado.
for the wife that He gave me.
Y solo puedo decir gracias,
I
Señor.
can only say thank you, Lord.
Entonces, mi consejo a los jóvenes
So my encouragement, my thoughts of encouragement, or my words
Es
of
que-
encouragement to the young people
no vaya tan rápido
said,
al pote para tomar.
is that don't go so quickly to the well to drink water.
Esperen en el Señor,
Wait on the Lord.
oren a Él.
Pray to Him.
Ni siempre un chico hermoso,
It doesn't matter if it's a really good
Una
looking
chica hermosa.
guy or a really good looking
es lo
girl.
que Dios quiere para uno.
It's really what matters is that what God wants for
Dios
you.
siempre tiene lo mejor para uno.
God always has the best for us.
Y si nosotros sepamos esperar en
And
Él,
if we just learn how to wait on
Él
Him,
nos dará siempre lo mejor.
He will always give us the best.
Problemas todos tenemos.
Problems, we all have them.
No existe como dice, hombre perfecto,
There's no such thing as a perfect
mujer perfecta.
man. There's no such thing as a perfect woman.
Ni el hogar del hermano Branham fue perfecto.
Not even Brother Branham's own home was
Y él era
perfect.
un profeta.
And he was the prophet of the Lord.
La hermana Meda tenía su
Sister
carácter.
Mita, she had her way of
La hermana Hope tenía su carácter.
Sister Hope, she was a certain
El hermano
way.
Branham también tenía su
Brother
carácter.
Branham was made up of a certain way.
Pero Dios cuando une
But when God puts together
aquí en la tierra
here on earth
la pareja ideal,
the ideal couple,
es porque Él ya la había unido en la
it's
eternidad.
because he had already united them in eternity.
Y esto
Amen.
es lo que yo creo.
And this is what I believe.
Esto es lo que yo creo.
This is what I believe.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Dios les bendiga.
May God bless you.
Espero que sea de una gran
I hope
bendición
that
para
this is a
ustedes.
blessing to you.
Perdonen mis emociones,
Sorry for being so emotional,
pero siempre me emociono
but I always get emotional
de estas obras maravillosas del Señor.
of the great wonders that the Lord
Muchas
does
gracias.
in our lives.
Dios le
Thank
bendiga.
you. God bless you.
Gracias.